Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome back for another video. I hope that you're all doing well. I hope you're all having a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do sincerely hope it's absolutely fantastic. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It is a free and easy way to support the channel. The channel always needs supporting. It has to do with the algorithm. If you're not a YouTuber, basically, the algorithm checks all the time how many people comment, how many people leave a like, how many people watch the video. And before we begin, I need to say, I think it's just because there's far too many crazy things, far too many crazy things happening at the same time. I just want to remind people, I know that everyone is very optimistic. I hope that you're all very bullish, etc., but do not forget to save money, to have an emergency fund as well. A little bit of a side topic. I've been chatting with a lot of friends. As I've said before over the years, I do my best and have done my best. I can only, hold your hand so far, not you, but someone. And I have a lot of people recently who I always message friends. I'm like, hey, what's up? How are you? What's going on? How are things? And a lot of my friends have been let go. They think they're on the verge of being let go from their job, what have you. And I always try to ask nicely because I don't want to get into anyone's business. But I say like, hey, good thing you have savings, because these are all friends for the last 10 years who I've made sure to remind to build up some kind of a savings of some sort on the side. And a lot of them, if not all of them, have recently told me, as multiple people, they're fired, on the verge of being fired, and they have no savings. They have nothing. They didn't put anything aside. They assumed that their job in some sort of way was going to be secure, or that it was simply everyone else. So I'm here to remind you, sometimes the everyone else is you. So I said 2-3 years ago on this channel and the other channel, Money Rules, make a savings account, have an emergency savings, have a rainy day fund, have a 5-day, it's raining outside for multiple days kind of things. If you have not started now, you are wasting time, and I don't understand exactly what you've been doing. But yeah, that's been like at the top of my brain for the last couple of days, chatting with people, trying to, anyway. So yeah, where we are right now in the cryptocurrency space is a bit of a doozy, and I don't really know how to properly give you exactly what's happening in actual human words. The cryptocurrency market is incredibly bullish, and it has been for a very long time. The problem is that people only look for prices as a form of a bullish indicator. If you've been here for more than one cycle, if this is your first cycle, you're not really going to understand what I'm saying. I'm speaking in English, but you'll still sit here kind of confused. If you've been here for 2 cycles, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's always some kind of a push out period, basically a time frame where prices in the market go up, and then they come back down and they settle sideways. The prices either move completely sideways or they move down in some sort of way. We have had proper calls for the mega bull run and or alt season for the last couple of weeks. Prices do well, and then I don't even know what I'm specifically trying to say. It's basically, and I don't want to throw the word manipulation into it constantly, because I think people have a weird idea about the idea manipulation, or the word of it. Is why I made sure to mention before, everything is manipulated. Not that it's good. It's just more of this is how markets work. The amount of analysts, the amount of companies, the amount of institutions, if you missed the news when we were talking about the other university in America who's also buying up millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. We're on the verge of hearing of additional countries who were buying. They all want it at the lowest price possible. Bitcoin is something that, as far as we know, was created by a person or a group of people to basically allow people to circumvent and get around and escape the old system. The problem is that rich people have figured that out as well, and they, in many cases, have far more capital than the average bear. So what they end up doing is finding a way to either spook you out of this market or kick you out of the market. There's no real nice way to say it. It is all done by fear and manipulation, keeping prices low. This is why if you are on Twitter in general, you'll hear a lot of analysts constantly saying, like, hold on, it's coming, because they've been here for multiple other cycles and they know what the shakeout looks like. I literally remember during last cycle having this similar conversation. Even sometimes we'll see prices go up by 2 to 3% over the course of a day, then they'll go down by 3 or 4%, and then they kind of trend sideways. It's these reaccumulation periods that basically the rich people are using to their advantage to try and make sure that you're annoyed, you don't know what's going on, and you get out of the market. The only word of really, the only word of advice that I can give is to continue learning more. It's not so much do your own research, because sometimes that, doesn't suffice as a phrase. Learn more about the market. If you can learn about other cycles as well, all the information is there. Everything is free on the internet for you to look at and to learn about. And basically, hyper long story short, the market, as far as we are hearing at the time of me making this video, is set for a gigantic rebound. We've kind of crossed by all the numbers that we needed to. We have moved up sufficiently. Ethereum has done A, B, and C. Bitcoin has done 1, 2, and 3 things kind of sort of way. So I think a lot of times when we do actually hear from analysts as to what's going on, the skepticism, from my vantage point, the skepticism tends to be from people who haven't been in the market for a while. Usually, a lot of people are here for quick, easy, fast money. And this is why I tell you, if you always look forward, I mean, it's the same exact thing with starting a savings fund. I told people years ago, I don't know what your salary is, but I assume you can afford an extra $300, $400, maybe $500 per month from your paycheck, not buying frivolous things, to put aside. If you manage to save $500 a month, that's $6,000 at the end of the year. Over the course of the last decade, that would have been, if not more, $60,000. Something happened, you have $60K to fall back on, but you only see it when you're like towards the end of the finish line and you go, all that accumulation made tons of sense. It's the same thing with being in crypto. A lot of times people get discouraged because they don't have as much of a coin as they want. I've seen a couple of times on Twitter, a lot of people, I mean, really, they'll write, I've been in this market for 8, 9, 10 years. I didn't have a lot of money before. I started out really slow. People are writing on Twitter, they have half of a Bitcoin. Some people I have 0.75 Bitcoin. Like, that's enormous. Compared to, it just takes time to actually get forward. It's the same exact thing with accumulating when prices are lower. The big money in this market isn't made by the 1 or 2 people who you're reading articles about who made $45 million on a quick trade or what have you. The big money is made by buying and holding and then waiting for all these things to take, once again, all these things to take place. It's difficult for me to I can give you the information, but you have to go the rest of the way. I can only hold someone's hand for so long and all of these things. Like, this market is doing incredibly well, incredibly well. All the metrics are completely on fire. They're really hitting it hard. But if it doesn't immediately reflect in prices, people begin to waver. A lot of people, there was another article, I don't have it here. A lot of retail investors, sometimes they get rid of their coins. It's like, a really good friend of mine, here's another little side story. I have thousands of them. I do so much all the time. I was chatting with him about the market, obviously, and he was telling me he had a friend who got into the market around 2018 or something like that. The prices were, he got in relatively high in price. Prices began to fall. He became discouraged. He had numbers in his head as to where he wanted the market to actually be. And at some point he saw that Bitcoin, oh gosh, what was it? I think Bitcoin rose to like almost 70,000 over 2020 and 2021. But he was like, no, I'm going to hold on a little bit longer. The prices fell back down again, and he didn't understand that he was in another cycle. He thought it was like, I missed my chance once again. Like, why do I keep losing this every single time? The market began to rise. This was 2023. Anyway, the point of the story is that Bitcoin got to 18,000. He got itchy. And Bitcoin got to 20,000. Its previous all-time high from when he first wanted to get into the market. And he sold. He apparently sold everything. Like everything, not some of the things. He sold everything he had because he assumed that that was another, it was about to collapse from 20,000 again. So my friend was telling me that he was recently in contact with him. Like, hey, what's up? What's going on? How's life? And the guy's like, not too good. I'm broke. I don't have anything. My job's not paying well. And he was like, yeah, but you told me you cashed out of the market. You took profits. He's like, yeah, I did it when it was at 20. At the previous all-time, like previous all-time high. That was when, I didn't think the market was going to go any higher. And it's like, what shook you out of the market? Like I just don't, I don't know. So right now, the analysts, the famous people, in the space, what have you, have gotten back on stage. And according to the news that we've received, according to the information that we have right now, and according to the next couple of months, it appears that the bull run is back. Or rather, it's still here. It's on, but like people have been distracted. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This is from Adam Back, B-A-C-K. He's the CEO of Blockstream, but he's kind of one of the earliest Bitcoin maximalists that we have out there. He says that Bitcoin is still in the early stages of the current bull market. As the adoption of Bitcoin, of the flagship, okay, whatever, sure. In a new interview with CNBC, Back said that Bitcoin's buying demand remains high across various investing segments, including exchange-traded funds, and that the bull market is far from over. It's been a weird cycle because I don't know why we have so many new people who are, it's not losing faith. Like there's just like such a, remember I told you this was a couple of videos ago, the sentiment on Twitter, the word's not toxic. It's like something like above that level. It's just like this depression, sadness. It's just like you can tell who's been in the market for a while. You can look at their accounts, you can whatever. And there's like this general level of optimism. When prices are sideways or go relatively lower, I usually personally, I end up buying more. We know to buy on the dip. That's been a huge mantra for the space. But I'm overpowered by thousands of people who are just screaming in the different comment sections and stuff like that about how angry they are that the $200 they put into Bitcoin in November isn't $500,000 now. And you can't give them reason or some sort of state, but people are just kind of like, whatever. Even for the exchange traded funds, even when you talk about the actual news articles that are coming out, there were, I think recently, 3 days, where the inflows to the Bitcoin ETFs was like 18 million, 22 million. It wasn't the billion that we saw a month and a half ago. And that was touted as negative news, that like the demand for the ETFs was so low. Would the price also begin to go lower? And I'm like, no, there were inflows. If these people want Bitcoin, they can get it in multiple various different ways. It's not just ETFs. And then the problem is that the ETFs are doing great. Bitcoin's hash rate is doing great. Countries are buying Bitcoin. Banks are adopting and using Bitcoin. It just so like, it's really, really weird. He said, and I quote, "I think we're certainly in the early stages of the bull market at this point. You know, typically the bull market cycle lasts for a certain period after the halving, and so we're still in the early innings. I think there are very stiff inflows from ETFs buying about 2 times the Bitcoin mined per day, which also no one talks about anymore. This was major news in February, March 2024. If you missed it, on any given day, ETFs were purchasing 8 to 13 times the amount of Bitcoin that was mined. That made spectacular headline news. The ETFs, even if the ETFs were accumulating half of the Bitcoin that was mined per day, that's an astronomical amount of Bitcoin that's taken off the table. These companies and these institutions aren't relinquishing this Bitcoin. They're absorbing it as quickly as they possibly can. With them buying 2 times, this means there's literally no new Bitcoin entering the market. And that's part of also the annoyance that's happening on Twitter. When people hear, so there were people discussing the accumulation rates of the ETFs. This was maybe a week ago somewhere on Twitter. Got it. And someone wrote, they were like, the accumulation levels are sky high. They paired it with news about Litecoin. If you haven't seen Litecoin ETF, blah, 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 all these other things. And like there was, I think there was a week where whales had purchased around 1 million Litecoin. A week. 1 week, 1 million Litecoin, because the price is so low comparative to Bitcoin. And they were talking about like how much more the ETFs are going to be absorbing at the same time. And then somebody was like, yeah, well, it sounds cool, but Bitcoin's price is going down and you have to like go around them. And then someone says, well, the problem is that there's still tons of Bitcoin on exchanges. And then you have to explain to them that those coins aren't all liquid and that number used to be 9 million Bitcoin, then 7 million Bitcoin, then 6 million Bitcoin. But people look at what's happening now in the moment and they go, well, nothing's changing immediately right now. And you can't explain anything further to them. And then you have to explain to them even further the amount of Bitcoin that's openly on OTC markets. People think that this can infinitely be replenished. Someone wrote, it was for every buyer, there's a seller. And it's like, yeah, but we're talking about something that's finite here. It drives me insane how few people really understand what like scarcity actually means. On an average day, we would probably have from general interest, even without the ETFs, from MicroStrategy, from the one in Japan and the 18 other companies that we keep hearing from, on any general day, we are probably seeing the supply of Bitcoin, the entire the amount that's mined, gone. That's the significance of when you hear that MicroStrategy just bought 11,000 Bitcoin, 18,000, 22,000, 55,000 Bitcoin. There's only so many Bitcoin that are actually mined per day. They're also absorbing those coins extremely fast. Hold on. Right. Sorry, I was sorry. Don't even mind me. But it's people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, why aren't people getting it? Are people just lying? Are people trying to kick up dirt or dust, or are they trying to make other people angry? Are they trying to cause some kind of a distraction? Because that's also a thing in crypto, which I find very gross. That a lot of people will go online and lie to other people on Twitter to make them believe that something is or isn't happening, to make them try to like push them out of the market as well. And the people who are doing it, like I said before, it's really weird. Like you'll see certain articles or you'll see people who are posting on Twitter telling other people like, okay, the bull run's over. It's not going to go any higher. I just did A, B, and C, or blah, blah, blah is happening. And then I'm like, you don't even own an entire Bitcoin. You have half of an Ether. Like, what are you trying to get other people out of the market for? So you can buy another $300? Why lie to people? Why be rude or mean? I don't think it's whatever. He said MicroStrategy and the other Bitcoin treasury companies buying another 2 times. The number's way more than that. And the retail buyers and dollar cost average investors. So really, that's a lot of inflow. This is happening every single day. This isn't every other day. This isn't once a week. This isn't whenever we hear someone standing on. No, like this is every single day. They're like destroying the actual circulating supply that's available for people. It continues to dwindle all the time. Do you understand what it means for me to look around to see what's happening in this space? And I see that there was an inflow of several $1 million into the BlackRock ETF that bought an entire day's worth of Bitcoin in one go. And the article has a negative tone to it, talking about, well, it's not as big as it was before. The inflows just aren't there. Our institution's bored with Bitcoin, and it's what the heck is going on? Adam Back has predicted that Bitcoin will soon start printing a series of rallies and may see an explosive breakout if governments start adopting Bitcoin strategic reserves. What we have now, this ties very closely. It's not Samson Mao. What's the other guy's name? I don't remember. There's another huge analyst, the one who basically announced that we would have God and Omega candles. I know it sounds intense. It sounds crazy when I say it out loud. He was saying that the levels of accumulation that we're currently witnessing are basically doing so much to dry up Bitcoin, but retail doesn't like see the actual numbers. You know, we get news and information, but the retail market, everyday normal people still have not jumped back in because they don't see anything fantastic happening with prices. So he said at some point, as these companies are buying, as the OTC market ends up drying up in, whatever way. And once again, there are more than one OTC market. It's Coinbase is not the only over-the-counter market. There are others, and they're also drying up as well. There's another article. I don't have it here, but the kimchi premium, as they call it, in South Korea is also beginning to mount once again. So basically, if you're a crypto exchange anywhere, you have to buy Bitcoin so that people can buy it from you. Logically makes sense, right? As Bitcoin is finite, there's only so much that an exchange anywhere could actually buy at any given time. In many different countries, especially South Korea, what ends up happening is that these companies buy up Bitcoin, but there's so few Bitcoin because it's scarce and finite that they actually end up draining the entire supply of the exchange. And the price begins to go up really fast in these other countries. We've seen it before in Argentina and many other places. The whatever that comes into play is that people see that more crypto ends up hitting that exchange, and it's because there are people who go, well, Bitcoin's at 4,000. I'm going to sell mine for 4,500. Those coins get bought up, and the price continues to go even higher, and then someone else ends up selling. So people always go, well, there's always someone selling, and it's like, if you're not paying attention, this might not be the market for you, because you're not going to understand everything that took place or what's going to take place for Bitcoin to actually get to $1 million per coin. You're here trying to make fast money, and you're not realizing that Bitcoin in the year 2035 is still going to be around, and it's going to be worth multiple millions of dollars because you will have sold your position, impatiently waiting for the price to go up. You're not actually here to make long-term gains. You're here to make money so that you can go try to impress people. If that's your prerogative and if that's what you're here for, I wish you the best of luck. We have been hearing, as far as we know, it's more than 5, 6, or 7 at this point. States within the United States whose proposals of creating either a crypto reserve or a Bitcoin strategic reserve. There are a couple of states, individual states, who have also announced that they're going to begin collecting other crypto as well. We don't know exactly what, but a lot of this legislation is now in its second or third phase. So it's getting voted on and people are pushing it through certain things, but the votes are actually constantly in favor of creating one. There was one state, it was, I think, a 4-1, a yay to nay. So 4 for the yays. But we're slowly getting to the point where this is happening. And I needed to announce before in another video, things don't happen at the rate or the timing that you expect them to. So a lot of people are waiting right now. Retail investors are waiting for these states, for the mayor, the governor, the princess of the, I don't care who runs the state, to get on stage and go, today we have, this is through. It's now officially law. They're buying before, right? And have been for a while. You think that companies are the only ones who have shells? Are the only ones who like do things like overseas and other it's such a weird idea that, and I'll try and say it this way. The original idea of crypto and of Bitcoin and of the space was that people basically realized or understood, and I won't use the word lie, but that governments usually tend to do other things than they say that they're actually doing. But at the same exact time, people in crypto need to explicitly hear someone say, oh yeah, we're actually doing this, before they get excited. Like hearing about BlackRock and Bitcoin at 2018. And now everyone's, oh yeah, BlackRock just got in a year ago. Do you know what you're talking about? Do you understand that they've all been here since 2014? They established connection with us in 2016, 2017, and now they're taking over the entire space. So when I tell you that Bitcoin's finite, and listen, we can extend that as far as we want to go, and I'm glad, and I'll say it this way, I'm glad that people are waking up in some form or fashion. Somebody wrote on Twitter a couple days ago, and I think I left a like. They wrote something along the lines of, just wait until everyone else finds out that Litecoin is also like rare and finite. For those of you who do not know, Litecoin has a maximum supply of 4 times the amount of Bitcoin. So a maximum 84 million. And then somebody else also wrote, they were like, same exact thing for XRP, same exact. So like, people are slowly coming to realize that like these other things are also like extremely finite. And this is what institutions and governments are buying and are actually accumulating. But it's this idea of everlasting abundance that people have, and you're not realizing there will not be enough for you in the future. And if I need to flip that in another direction, prices will be so high for you in the future that you won't be able to afford what you could be affording right now. And I could say that for land, I could say that for real estate, and the entirety of the cryptocurrency market. He said, I think temporarily there's some consolidation because some earlier investors, sort of midterm investors, profit taking, but that overlay would set us for a price where you start to see Bitcoin competing with gold, perhaps pulling money out of gold ETFs into Bitcoin ETFs. And then, of course, if the treasuries come in, like the sovereign treasuries, which they are, if you've seen any of the last 30 videos on this channel, the Bitcoin reserves, that would be something where you see sovereign competition. As soon as one of the bigger countries jumps in, I think the others will feel forced to follow suit. So all bets will be off if that happens. What we have right now, this is why I said before, I think this is what's going to kick everything really off. We're paying a lot of attention right now to Ethereum's price and where Ethereum's going to go. Ethereum is the head altcoin, regardless of what anyone else thinks might be in the future. Between the people from Litecoin and XRP right now, they're like actually fighting online to see who's going to become number 2 next. Sure, why not? But the thing that's really going to, I think, set everything off is when we hear, I think, between 1 to 3 states officially announcing we're adopting Bitcoin, we're buying Bitcoin. I think that's when we see the tumble effect of everything. Because I told you before in another video, rather I was asking, and I was like, the states or wherever you live, if you hear that they're adopting or buying Bitcoin, would that change your mindset or your investment strategy? And if you said no, well, guess what, buddy boy? There's a million other people who said yes. And that's where a lot of the other money is going to begin to flow from as well. But I think by the end of this year is when it's going to be complete insanity. I don't know personally if cycles are over per se. That is, not in the same rhythm as we've had them before. But I think when we start getting all this like proper news of the US government officially buying Bitcoin, multiple states, as we know right now, it looks like 22 was the number. 22, according to Dennis Porter, are trying to launch some kind of a Bitcoin reserve. Once we have all that happening, there's really no turning back. There's no, oh, maybe the price will go down. I think that's when like literal insanity will begin within this market. He said, I think there's a lot of capital in the institutional space of pension funds and mutual funds. So there's a lot of room for capital to come in this cycle. I think things are going to get even crazier. If this is your first cycle, learn more. Learn more about the space, learn more about money, learn more about what Bitcoin is, really. Like, can anyone here, I know 5 of you can you tell me like the algorithm at which Bitcoin is mined? Do you know what SHA-256 is? Do you understand like what the halving actually is instead of like making you money and causing the price to go up? Do you understand why institutions are here now and not in 2028 or 2032? Why like we're at such a pivotal point? Do you remember what happened to the gold to Bitcoin ratio when this halving happened? That Bitcoin became the rarest asset on the, remember? Anyone? Bitcoin's incredibly rare, as are many of the other coins, but understand that something huge is taking place. If it doesn't do anything for you, don't feel ashamed. Don't feel ashamed at all. Bitcoin just, that this market just might not be your cake and butter, bread and tea, your thing. There are many other ways for you to invest, but I think crypto's not for everyone. A lot of people can't stand the pressure of the market. But this is when, millionaires get made. Yeah, bit of I want to say a different video slightly, but I know there's a lot going on. If you can, try and find time to do something nice for yourself, whatever that might be, as long as it's not too expensive. You don't need anything expensive. Save your money, put your money away. This isn't a joke. If you are in a great financial situation right now, I have my thumb up. You can't see it. Start saving. Like really put money away, or invest or do something so that you actually have some money that you can grab from the side. The next couple of years are only going to get more turbulent in many different ways. The market is not perfect. No market is perfect, but what we're currently looking at right now is, as I stated many other videos, the only people who are going to benefit in the future are people with assets. Those without assets in the future are going to have a terribly difficult time. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.